Hey guys, this is TJ, and you're listening to the Bamsters podcast. Remember, with great podcasts comes great entertainment. Boom, 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 boom.
The Ministry of Care has announced it has finally solved the problem of providing decent retirement for our senior citizens.
And welcome back, everybody. Yeah, it's another episode of the Bamsters Rated R Show. Arr. And with me today, I think I have Draconusx sitting somewhere.
Yes, sir. I am here. And this week we've got our Comic Shop Talk episode coming up. But first, we're going to go through a couple of newsy type topics. So, G, what have you got for us?
Well, we have a little bit of gaming news, Kickstarter and a re-release. And I think there's also a little bit of news about what's going on at Amazon with a digital comic thing. And a book story, for that matter, even. And a little bit later, I think you and I will be talking a little bit about Steam Valve's thing. They have this Steam Direct thing. Something for the indie devs out there. But first off, something Netflix has canceled called Sense8.
Yeah, this show was a pretty neat concept, and it's something I know I've mentioned on the show before. But so basically, it's a group of people that all happen to be born on the same day and have this mental connection where they know what each other is thinking, and they can visit each other. I guess you could say astrally because nobody else sees them there, and then can make use of each other's skills when doing different things. So they kind of help each other out. It's only had 2 seasons, and basically Netflix has decided to start canceling shows. And I'm assuming they're doing this based on viewership. So they don't really release any of those metrics, but I guess there just weren't enough people watching Sense8 as compared to some of the other shows. But it's unfortunate because, I mean, it had 2 really great seasons, and there seemed to be quite a few people who really did like the show. I heard something about Twitter having a meltdown, but I didn't get a chance to see what that was.
Yeah, I know the only thing I heard about this because I said this is not a TV show that I've watched yet, and if there's only 2 seasons, why bother? But my Twitter tweet line thingy just went berserk, people whining and complaining and suggesting they cancel other shows instead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could think of a few. But, well, I guess the most unfortunate part is when shows like this are going to be canceled, I wish that the people writing for the show would know ahead of time that it's going to be canceled, because I kind of hate the way that they ended the 2nd season. You really want to know where it's going to go, and where there are a lot of shows on regular network channels here that could end up getting canceled and picked up by Netflix. Netflix is kind of the last hope, I guess, in some senses for some of these shows. And if the Netflix is canceling Sense8, then I don't see that necessarily coming back on a regular TV channel anywhere.
That was actually also my takeaway, because if Netflix is canceling stuff, then this idea that Netflix could save TV shows that people keep coming up with, that's kind of out of the window. They're not going to pick up other companies' canceled shows because they themselves are canceling things if they don't have the money for it.
Well, and I don't know how much of this is financially based. I'm sure there are certain considerations that fall in that category. But the article I read said that the folks running the show, so to speak, with Netflix, that they're going to be looking at canceling things even more in the near future, like regular TV networks do. Which, from a business standpoint, I can certainly understand some of that, but it is a little bit disappointing because, like, you know, we talked about, Netflix is kind of the last hope for some of these TV shows that, for whatever reason, don't seem to make it on regular network TV.
Okay, just before we wrap that part up, can I ask, is there a chance, can we hope against hope, this means there won't be a season 2 of Iron Fist?
With the way that the critics and fans kind of responded to Iron Fist, I don't know. We'll see. I guess it's going to depend mostly, I would almost say, on how Defenders does. And, well, actually, Punisher, I think, is also coming out this November. So that's another character from those shows. I will have to see how that does.
Yeah, I'll look to Defenders and see how that goes. Just the other thing was cringeworthy. Leaving Netflix behind, a bit of gaming news, just a few small ones. Kynseed, this is a game that I know some of our guys have been kind of interested in, even went and supported them. They finished their Kickstarter. They actually passed it, so yay. It's good seeing games still passing their Kickstarters. They got, 50,000 British pounds? But they had no stretch goal, so it isn't that, yay, they're getting a stretch goal. No, they said right from the start, no stretch goals, but anything above will add into these topics.
Well, this is kind of a cute looking game. I know I've heard the name before, probably because Eben has mentioned it before, but I don't know too much about it other than that. What kind of game is it?
A 2D sandbox RPG thing, so you can run around doing things, but it's two-dimensional. A bit of a step back in time, I guess. And if you like RPGs, if you like adventures, it looks like a really nice one because it's one where you can see the characters in the game progress, have kids, grow old, die of old age or other reasons, and you yourself can proceed. And once you're dead, you pass on your Kynseed to the next member in your family, and then you're the next character in your family.
Oh, you know what? That sounds extremely familiar. I can't remember if it was this game or if there's another one that's similar to that we looked at a while back, but it's kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, I can think of a couple that have been trying it. One that was on Kickstarter a year ago now. So it's not new, but no game has really come out recently that actually does it. So I think this one is worth following, and congratulations to them for passing Kickstarter.
Yeah, just looking at the graphics for it or the images that I've seen, in a way, it almost kind of to me looks reminiscent of the old Final Fantasy games. A little better graphics, but more like when it was back on Nintendo before it went to PlayStation.
Never played Final Fantasy. Sorry. He says just after having said that he likes RPGs and adventure games. Another one that's also interesting. Back in December, I think it was, we had the developers behind Brigador on the show talking about how the release didn't quite go the way they expected. Mistakes they made, assumptions that were wrong, inexperience. It's a good game, just FYI, but they're re-releasing it. It's the up-armored edition with new campaigns, new vehicles, new pilots, and better explosions. And if you haven't checked it out yet, go and check this game out. It's really nice. It might be me. It might be memories from, previous games. Go back to the interview, listen to that. Oh, there's a whole list of them. It reminds me of things from my past, but it's modern, it's updated, it's fun.
Yeah, this one didn't look too bad. In fact, I think I might have played a little bit of it, if I remember right, to record some footage for a podcast at the time. And I think at times it was a little difficult to keep track of not just where you were, but the stuff that you were shooting, and because you're moving around trying to avoid things. But it was pretty cool. You got different versions of mechs that you can pilot around and blow things up, and hey, better explosions. That's always good in my book.
Yeah, and I know it's ISO 3D and people go, "Ooh, that's outdated. Why isn't it first or third person mech shooter?" But those games exist. That's already done, and sorry, but they're fun, but we need something else. This is something else. The graphics, I like them. I like the graphical style. I think it's awesome. The original music by Makeup and Vanity Set, yeah, that's the guy's name, is awesome, but he's actually curated a new soundtrack. And for anybody who has the original edition with all the add-ons, they get the new soundtrack for free. And I've been listening to it. It's pretty good, actually.
I don't know that I always have much use for it, but I do enjoy when these game companies include soundtracks with the game itself. Because sometimes it is cool just to kind of zone out or rock out to an album, depending on what kind of music it is.
Yeah, this is definitely something you can have listening in the background. For me, the new soundtracks work better as something just having on in the background. Makeup Mantis does really good music, and he does shows, presentations, etc. But his style, particularly in this game, fits the game extremely well, but it's less, for me at least, to have running in the background. But I know people have bought the LP, yes, the record that goes on an old-style record player, and just listen to that at, in the evening. So, it's not music that you can't relax to. It's not just not my style for relaxing.
Well, and on the subject of things that are re-releasing, in a certain form, Amazon's got a huge sale right now on digital comics. Well, when I went and looked, the first couple of pages that were in there were completely free. And these are all Kindle versions, digital editions of the comics. And then it starts to go up from there to like 40 cents or 80 cents. And this is on the Amazon.com site. So if you're somewhere else in Europe or the world, you may end up needing to go to the Amazon, to the US site to see if you can pick them up or not. But there were quite a few in there, and especially the free ones. Why not catch up on a few things?
I was about to say, no, they weren't. I looked at Amazon. There was no free digital Kindle things from Marvel.
There are. You just have to sort by price. If you sort price to low to high, it starts out at 0.00.
Yeah, no, the headache is that I went to the Amazon UK. They won't even sell me Kindle stuff.
Oh.
No, it's just the whole rights thing. I think if I go to the German one, they might sell something to me, but I don't want to read them in German. And if I go to the French one, it'll be the same thing. I'll have to get them in French. No, thank you. So I have seen in the past I can buy things off the Amazon.us.uk, .com whatever. The American Amazon one. They will sell me things, but then I need a Kindle that is registered in the US.
I wonder if you can do things with Kindles like some other devices or change the region. I hate this whole region locking thing anyway. Whether it's for Kindles or consoles or, Steam, I've never been a fan of region locking.
Yeah, me neither, because they always get broken. Like there was a court case in Finland where the judge literally said that region locking on DVDs are permissible to be broken despite laws against it because they're so trivially broken that it's not really a restriction. Should say that was a court case 15 years ago, but still. I appreciate, Drac, you really like Marvel and comic books, and peace be with that. Me, I'm a little bit more of a Tolkien guy, and there's a new Tolkien book.
Oh, I absolutely enjoy Tolkien as well. Coming from a huge D&D background, fantasy novels, reading year after year, especially I've got so many R.A. Salvatore and David Gemmell books on my bookshelf still. So yeah, no, Tolkien, I've got a few of his as well.
I like that you put R.A. Salvatore in the same context as Tolkien. Admittedly, they're both writing stories for young teenage boys. So you got that right. I like R.A. Salvatore. There's some differences.
Well, his stuff is heavily inspired by Tolkien, but
oh yes,
yeah, I think a lot of his stuff is probably a little more action oriented and maybe not quite as wordy.
The American explaining things is not quite as wordy. I'll refrain from going there. I won't say Trump.
You son of a.
Anyways, I like this one. This is one of those stories. It's Beren and Lúthien. Beren and Lúthien. It was in Silmarillion, but these are the earlier versions. Tolkien wrote his stories, he made them up, and then he kept rewriting them. So a lot of what has come out, particularly after he passed on, edited by his son, Christopher, they are the older versions where you can go back and compare. And that's the case again here, that the final version is in Silmarillion, but these are earlier versions. And this one, if you're into Tolkien, is one of those you just have to go back and look at. He wrote it just after the Battle of Somme, so 1917. Yeah, 100 years ago. And it's a very personal story because he wrote it while he was recovering, or he came up with the idea, I should say, while recovering from trench fever. After he attended the Battle of Somme, where he lost his friends, at least a couple of them. So it's very personal for him, and it's the story about getting out of this malaise that he was in at the time.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that this, in some ways, was kind of a love letter to his wife, because I think it's the Lúthien character, is it? That's based largely on his wife and him meeting his wife and how he felt about her when he met her.
Precisely. Is this, he was in a dark place, and you can see that in some of his writing from that time. And meeting Edith and, them becoming a couple and later marrying, that's part of what is in this. And it's, as you say, it's a love letter to her. One expert on Tolkien came out and said, well, it's a story from when he was walking in the East Yorkshire woods, and Edith was seen dancing in a glade filled with white flowers. That is the key scene in Beren and Lúthien. So, it's that thing where he goes from being really sad to being happy and coming back to life again. And fun fact, Beren and Lúthien is actually engraved into Tolkien and his wife's shared headstone.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I think also, as I understand it, they're the inspiration for the Aragorn and Arwen characters in the Lord of the Rings movies that folks who haven't read the books would be familiar with if they'd seen the movies.
To some extent, yeah, I think so. It's fun. It's one of those topics where the movies do more out of the relations between the men and the women than the books do. For the books, it's very bland, I would say. And just a small note, this is pretty much exactly 10 years since Children of Húrin came out, which was also one of his works that were never really released, and there's stories of it in the other books, and edited by Christopher Tolkien, etc. If people haven't read that one, I would definitely suggest to pick it up. It's different from a lot of other things that he's written, but it's one that I really enjoyed.
What was that one about? That one I'm not familiar with.
Well, it's kind of in the title. But it's the whole, Húrins and his children, what happens to them, and it's not a particularly happy story. It's one of those, it isn't that I won't tell you what it's about, it's just, it's difficult for me to say much without giving it away.
Gotcha. In other words, go read the book.
Yeah, it's on my bookshelf. You can drop by and borrow it.
Oh, well, the next time I'm over in that area, I might just do that.
But I think I mentioned early on that we also have a little bit for the indie devs. Valve, Steam, some news from them this time.
Do tell.
Well, basically, they announced a while ago that they were going to drop Steam Greenlight, a process whereby people can vote on games that they would like to see on Steam. There's a page for each Greenlight game, and you can say, I would like to buy this if it was available, or I wouldn't, or I don't care. That's going away, and now it's just Steam Direct. You pay $100 and your game is on Steam.
Well, that's extremely reasonable. I like that. I mean, especially for folks, indie devs trying to get to that market and get it out there.
Yeah, I've been kind of following up on some of the reactions from game devs, indie devs, what they think about it. And one thing to note is it's the same fee as Greenlight. Greenlight also cost $100 to get on. But now there won't be the need for a Greenlight campaign. Like, there are literally people, even some we work with, who do campaign work, marketing work for Greenlight campaigns. So you put your game on Greenlight and you pay a PR marketing person to market it and get people to vote so that it passes Greenlight. And that could easily cost another $1,000, $2,000. So it's cheaper. You don't have to do the whole marketing. But at the same time, you don't get the marketing effect out of being on Greenlight. Greenlight engages your followers, and it can bring in new followers along with the marketing. There's a call to action built right in. Go and support us on Greenlight. So now you'll have to find another way of marketing your game. You'll have to do something else. So yeah, it's cheaper, but I predict a lot of games are going to just bury each other in a pile of shovelware.
Yeah, this kind of almost sounds like they've given it a marketplace that used to have a kind of Kickstarter aspect to it, but they've removed the Kickstarter aspect to it and allow you just to go direct to sale. But then, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, the Kickstarter aspect of it is what would help to get these games noticed to begin with. And now that it's just going to be direct to sale and cheaper to get in, you may be more difficult for these games to actually launch and get off the ground.
Yeah, I think it's going to mean some indie devs are going to not bother with Steam. I think I wouldn't at this point. Not until you build up certain volume or certain attention before that. If you go through Steam, Fic, Indiegogo, whichever, you build up a following and then release your game. That can make sense, but going straight to Steam, saying, here's $100, just throw them into the pile with everybody else? No, that's not going to work.
So just like what we've found out from people who've had successful Kickstarter campaigns and suggested to other indie devs doing the footwork ahead of time to build a following before you go to Kickstarter, sounds like you're suggesting the same thing then. Build up a following, do what you need to do to get a lot of attention to your game before you even try to release on Steam.
Correct. Even start 2, 3, 4 months early. Say, we're going to be on Steam on that date. Now we start our campaign, but a different one from what it would be in the past.
Almost makes me wonder if there'll be somebody out there that creates some kind of PR type website for the sole purpose of advertising games that will be coming to things like Steam.
Well, that's kind of what we do. We bring them on here when they're ready to go to Steam and they can talk about the game.
Now, if only we could pull down the kind of numbers like Polygon and Kotaku.
True. Some other things that I think were interesting, again, just people bringing it up. There's a recoupable thing. You get your $100 back once you've done $1,000 worth of sale. That means if your game sells, it's the $100 is nothing. But if it doesn't sell, the $100 is a lot of money. And that might mean you will want to go to something like itch.io or itch.io and sell there first to bring up money to then go to Steam, because itch.io is free. And frankly, when it comes to indies, I think it's a better place. There's fewer games. You won't be buried at this point, at least. I just like the interface better.
I've been to that website probably 2 or 3 times. It's one of those that I keep meaning to go back and check out more. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to do that more in the future, simply because, in my view, that's where indies should go first now. Don't bother with Steam. Also, on the whole, it's $100. That's actually Apple's yearly fee if you want to be a small-time developer at Apple. You pay $100 a year, and there's some different rules, different levels, but you can release 1, 2, 3 games in a year on Apple iOS. And as somebody said, yeah, iOS is full of shovelware now because the fee is that low. But the counterpoint is Steam actually contemplated a $5,000 fee to have a gatekeeper, so only really serious ones get in. And that's kind of, the other end of the problem, that nobody wants to use it.
Yeah, I think 5,000 for especially a lot of in-house. And when I say in-house, I'm talking about folks that are indie devs building games in their actual homes or apartments. I think 5,000 probably would have been way too steep. But I know there's got to be a little bit more to it than that. Is there any word on what percentage Steam takes when you do sell a game, and if that has changed with this new system?
That's going to stay the same. And last I heard it was 30%. I might be wrong, and that's just from memory.
Okay, yeah, because I know they're still going to get their cut.
Oh, definitely. And that's, I guess, why $100 is okay for them. They're not looking to make money. They just need a gatekeeping mechanism. And they set it pretty much as low as they could. But, I mean, if there's anybody sitting out there listening to this, indie devs, game devs who have an opinion, let us know. I think this is an interesting one because it's a change that I don't personally see as being for the better, but I'm not releasing games. So if you're sitting there, have released or about to release a game, what are your thoughts about it? Are you one of those that went out and said, "Ooh, Steam Direct will bury us, so we'll get on Greenlight immediately and try to take advantage"? That's the reason why Greenlight is flooded right now. Or at least has been the last couple of months. Or were you one of those that went, "I'm not going to go to Greenlight, I'm going to wait until Steam Direct, so I don't have to worry about it and don't have to do a marketing campaign for Greenlight"?
Well, I don't mind change, but I do think that Greenlight kind of was a good thing, at least for the developers, or I should say, if for no one else, then for the developers who brought a game to Greenlight and would then see if there was an interest in their game. Now you're just going to pay the $100 fee and try and sell the game, but if there's no interest, you're out that $100. Well, I guess it's the same as it would have been to get into Greenlight, but how much time might you spend developing the game without much feedback where people just aren't buying the game? Whereas in Greenlight, a lot of times I would see the developers were, pretty active in there and communicating with people, and there'd be people requesting features and things. So I don't know, maybe, a little good, a little bad. And so for any of you guys out there hearing this, please leave us some comments on the YouTube section or on the website. Let us know what you're thinking. Pop into our Discord channel. We're always there to chat.
Yeah, I mean, we can revisit this. I think we will even. There'll be some of the upcoming interviews where this will become a topic. But we'll leave it there for now. And I think Drac mentioned that he has his good friend TJ coming over. So, stay tuned. Here's some comic shop talk.
Yeah, we got some fun stuff coming up for you in the next couple of minutes. So hang around, and you might even get a chance to kind of hear me lose it in laughter.
From me, nothing else to say than ciao.
Adios.
Oh, Sanbunan, Ninjani wen, Ninjani, Nyani Mungela wen, Nyani Mungela, Ninjama Kukuwazi, Ukulumi Sisuluna, Nyabonga Kulu, Nyambonga Kulu. Oh, Salagashle.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Comic Shop Talk. We had to take a little bit of a sabbatical, let's say, because TJ had come down with the deadly man flu. But I am happy to say that he is alive. He has survived his bout of man flu, and I've got him here with me today.
Huzzah! The flu is gone. How you guys doing? Thanks for coming to hang out with us today.
So I thought we'll start off with our Darwin Award winner, as I'm calling it. This guy at the Pheonix Comic-Con. For those of you who may not have heard, there was somebody that went dressed in cosplay and decided instead of taking plastic or goofy weapons, that he was going to load himself up with real weapons, ammo, and knives.
Well, there's actually more to the story than that. I don't know if you got to hear about this. He had a full-on manifesto and was there to not just attack and kill police officers, but to attack and kill Jason David Frank, who you guys better know as Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So there was a lot more that came out of this than most people had realized. He went around calling himself the Punisher and made some online manifesto about this. It was pretty crazy, pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, I did hear a little bit about him threatening police and other people online. I didn't hear about the Power Ranger part, but
yeah.
Dude, are you crazy, man? He's going to morph on you and kick your ass.
I mean, he's mad that he still hasn't gotten a chance to fight CM Punk, so he's got to take his aggression out on somebody, obviously. But, all kidding aside, I mean, usually we're not going to start the segment with something this heavy, but This is pretty serious stuff, and we're living in some really crazy times right now. And, there's a lot of fans out there, a lot of cosplayers who are feeling upset that Phoenix Comic-Con has made a move to ban prop weapons, and I'm sure that other conventions might end up following suit. This isn't about you not being allowed to bring in your toy weapons. This is about people's safety and security, and this is something that should be addressed.
Well, I certainly understand the safety aspect of it, but I do also find it disappointing that certain costumes, like when I went a few years back to Comic-Con, well, what was that, like 5-6 years ago, dressed as Grifter, and, of course I had those Nerf guns. So my question would be, what kind of limitations are there going to be on said, prop weapons? Because obviously somebody who dresses in like maybe a Blizzard costume with a 10-foot sword is not a real weapon, but is that something that's going to fall into the category of being banned?
That's a good question, but I think that something like that is up to the discretion of the convention organizers and whatever makes them feel safe. And my mentality in something like that is you use your common sense, you use your best judgment. If it's somebody's silly cardboard sword or water gun, then sure, no big deal. Or, crap, even at this point, using the water gun might be a thing. You never know what people are filling it with. I remember when we were kids, there was all, kids going around with bleach in their super soakers. So you just never know, man.
And you say common sense, but, I grew up, my dad telling me, common sense is anything but common.
Sure.
And I know that big places like this will often err on the side of caution, which for safety purposes makes sense. But I guess if it doesn't look like it could be a real weapon, then I would think that's something that I would hope they would still allow. Like the Nerf guns that I used, there was no way they looked like they could be real. My other question would be, does Pheonix, I assume they would or should, did they do any kind of weapon checks like they do at the San Diego Comic-Con? Because at San Diego, if you're going to walk in with anything resembling a weapon when you're cosplaying and you're going to be on the convention floor or in any one of the rooms anywhere, then you have to have your weapon checked and tagged.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation was with their security system or anything like that. But I'm always going to be of the mindset that, it may suck that you don't get to bring in your weapon, but as long as people are safe and once everything cools off, I'm sure that'll change. None of these rules ever end up being permanent, especially at gatherings like this. But, there are times where you have to put away, in this case, what I would consider your own selfish need and worry about the safety and security of other people.
Yeah, it's just another case of one idiot ruining it for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, let's move on from that onto another mixed topic, but with a slightly more positive spin. The WonderWoman all-female movie showings.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think it's awesome. I think this is great. I think this is something that is absolutely needed. I think the reactions from whiny little crybaby dudes only prove that this is needed, and I say, go forth and enjoy your showings because, ladies, you deserve this. First of all, let me say, Wonder Woman's in my top 5 favorite DC characters of all time, and I'm not crying about not being able to go to this because not everything has to be for me. Sometimes things can be for other people, and that's fine too. But the best part about this is all of these all-woman showings of Wonder Woman are charity organizations that are being put together by Alamo Drafthouse, and all the proceeds are going to Planned Parenthood. There's literally nothing to complain about, and I'm sorry, I'm going to throw it out there, and if I'm wrong, we can talk about it. My Twitter handle's on here, but most of the dudes who are complaining about this are the same guys who are actively okay with Planned Parenthood being shut down. And I'm not trying to make this a political thing, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. From the moment Captain America first debuted and punched Hitler on the face on his cover, comics have always been political. So I'd say go get them, ladies, and, do it up.
Well, I think you're right. There's always been a political aspect to comics in one form or another, whether it's in your face or if it's subtle. And the funny thing is, when I first read this, that they were doing these all-female showings, I guess it kind of just blew past me. I didn't see that there was going to be this much craziness. I guess the internet gets crazy about anything these days, but the only thing I thought when I saw that was, oh man, I can't take my munchkin to go see this stuff because I know she wants to go see the movie. But it's not like I'm not going to go get to see the movie. I'll see it, when everybody else does.
You just can't take her to Alamo Drafthouse. And that's fine, because I don't need to take a kid to Alamo Drafthouse. You can still go to the multiplex, wherever you're going to go, and take her and have a great time, and it's going to be awesome. Nobody's saying that men can't see this movie.
Right. And that's the important thing. And it's still got a release date that's coming out. And everybody's going to go then. I'm
going to throw it out there right now. In a lot of Black and African American communities in the United States, there were a lot of people who bought out full showings of Get Out for their community to be able to watch it. And I think things like that are actually pretty cool, as long as there's a positive to it. And I'm warning y'all right now, you think that people are crying about Wonder Woman? Wait for Black Panther.
Yeah.
And none of this is bad. None of this is wrong. You just got to let people be able to have things that are for specific communities as well. As long as people are being positive about this, hell yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing saying, whether it's Wonder Woman or Black Panther, there's nothing saying that as a man or as a non-African American or colored person that you can't enjoy these things. There's no reason why you can't.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think people, need to cool off, go relax.
I mean, I'm just some white dude, and I'm excited for both Wonder Woman and Black Panther.
Absolutely. It's two characters who I never thought would actually ever get their movies, and now I'm living in a world where I'm about to see both. That's killer.
And the other thing about the Wonder Woman with the all-woman showings and stuff, in a way, I kind of feel it's important that this movie, in some ways, is actually pretty important for women. Because, yes, there have been other female-led movies, but whether or not they were overshadowed by male counterparts, or whether or not the characters themselves were in morally shifty ground, like you'd mentioned Elektra. The thing is, with Wonder Woman, she's in a lot of respects, she's kind of like the Superman for women. She's got that immense amount of power, and she's got that moral compass where she does the right thing for the right reasons, and the consequences be damned.
The most important thing about this, truth be told, is Wonder Woman is not like Supergirl or like Batgirl, and it's not a shot at either of those two characters, but Wonder Woman is not derivative of a male hero. She stands completely and totally on her own, and she has to set the standard. What people don't realize is this movie, it's not that I hope it's good. It has to be good. This movie has to be better than good. It has to be amazing, and it has to do amazing on the opening weekend. Otherwise, no studio will take a chance again on a female-led superhero movie. I guarantee you that. So if you are listening right now, and this is coming from a guy who did not go see any DC movie in the theater because I didn't believe in what they were doing with those characters, and I didn't want to support that. Go see Wonder Woman opening weekend. Show them that you want more movies like this. Because even if the movie, it doesn't live up to your expectation, you are showing them with your dollars, which is the most important thing, what you want out of this. When you make a Wonder Woman movie succeed, that opens the door for so many other characters.
So I believe what my buddy's saying here is, go see the movie. At least go see the movie once. Check it out. And if you love the movie, go see it a few times to make sure that they keep making movies like this. And I got to say, I was a little on the fence when they cast Gal Gadot. I hope I said her name right.
Gal Gadot.
But, Gal, okay. But the thing is, while overall I didn't care for Batman versus Superman, her part in it was not
the best thing about it.
Yeah, yeah. Wonder Woman actually stole the show in that movie.
And I'll tell you, to echo what you were saying, I wasn't sold on her because I saw that Fast and the Furious movie she was in, and while those movies are all mostly mindless and pretty, Fast and the Furious, man, she was kind of rough in that movie. You could tell that was an early role for her, but I totally buy her as Diana, and I'm thrilled to see her bring that character to life. The only thing I'm hoping, and it's the one thing I've been nervous about with this, is she's great at being the badass and the warrior and all these things, but I need the moment where a little girl comes up to her, or a little boy comes up to her, or whatever, just a kid, tells Wonder Woman that she is their hero. And you need that softness and kindness and gentleness that Wonder Woman is also known for. And I have yet to see it because I only see her as an aggressor. The sword and shield has been shown too much with her. And in the comics, the sword and shield is only pulled out when she needs it.
Right.
So I'm a little nervous about that, but I'm sure that they're going to get that, and I'm sure she'll be great at it.
I almost wonder if we'll wonder if we're going to see that in this movie. I hope that there'll be a few moments like that, but there's a part of me that's questioning whether or not that may be saved for a later time.
As long as that kindness shows up, then I'm there. And just kindness towards life, because that's who Diana is. Everybody, they're pushing this very Xena-esque sort of thing, and Diana, maybe next to Batman, is the most compassionate character in the DC universe.
Well, on that note, I'm going to switch us over to another announcement that was just within the last couple of weeks. Tom Hardy being cast as Venom in Sony's standalone Venom movie.
Where's the losing sound effect from The Price is Right when you need it?
Wow, wow. Oh, that was with it.
No, I like the idea of Tom Hardy playing Venom. I think that's terrific. I'm sorry, though, Venom is so intrinsically linked with Spider-Man that Sony doing a Venom movie without introducing him in a Spider-Man movie, because Spider-Man is in the MCU and Venom will not be. This is them throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. I don't see how you do it without Spider-Man. I don't see the relationship between Eddie and Peter happening.
Well, the only way I see it happening is Agent Venom.
Yeah, but Flash Thompson is one of Peter's schoolmates.
No, I know. And I could even see them maybe doing
I think he'd be great as Agent Venom. I think that's the Venom he should be, but
here's the problem. They're doing the Eddie Brock Venom, which the Eddie Brock, not even just Venom, but Eddie Brock is tied so closely to Peter Parker.
In the same way Flash is.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just
Flash even more than Eddie. They grew up together.
It's hard for me to see how. I mean, of course, they're going to have a script, they're going to write the story, but it's hard to see how this really fits with the comic character and how this has got to be its own thing. And
how do you make it its own thing? Because
Venom is a dark mirror to Spider-Man.
It's like the Silver and Black movie that got announced with Silver and Sable and Black Cat. How do you do this without it coming back to Spider-Man? They're calling these movies Spider-Man spin-offs.
Spider-Verse.
It's all spiritual spin-offs because they're not spinning them out of a Spider-Man movie. They're just trying to make something happen since they don't have full control on Spider-Man now that they're sharing him with Marvel Studios.
Well, it's my understanding
this is desperation.
Well, I mean, from what I've been hearing, it's being called Spider-Verse stuff. So I guess I had the expectation that while these movies may be starting on their own, they may lead to a movie with Spider-Man.
I hate to say it in this case, I'm just not holding my breath. And the truth is, Sony consistently proves that they don't know what to do with these big franchises that they have. And I'll tell you, I, for one, really liked the new Ghostbusters movie more than I thought I was gonna. But it's just one of those things where Sony has these really great franchises and they almost don't know how to treat them. As much as I liked Ghostbusters, I do think it could have been way better in terms of the way they marketed it. The Spidey movies, it's the same thing. At this point, cut your losses, make that money back by selling Spider-Man to Marvel Studios and develop franchises from there. But, that's, again, common sense going back to the last thing.
Well, and they know Spider-Man is a bankable property. They don't want to give him up. Even selling him to make some cash back, I don't think that they believe is as much money as they can make in the long term with these characters. There's
got to be long-term bankability, and long-term bankability comes in with knowing how to use these characters. And, I've never liked Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I'll say it. There's quite a bit about Andrew Garfield that I did like, but Tom Holland just blows me away. He's the Peter Parker I've been wanting. He's the Spider-Man that I've been wanting. And at this point, I don't ever want to see Sony have creative control on this character because in 15, 20 minutes in Civil War, Marvel Studios proved that, Spider-Man should be home.
Yeah. So it's so much more. They started to do a little bit of that with Amazing Spider-Man, bring back the humor and the smart alecky, and and that was great because that was one of the biggest things missing from.
Tobey Maguire looked like a mope.
Well, I've talked about this with Bam about different characters and stuff and how they were done in different movies. That's not all on Tobey because he was being directed to act out the scenes in a certain way. And so, some of that blame does also land, or maybe a lot of it, on Sam Raimi, who while I'll say it, when those movies came out, I was excited as hell. It was the first time I got to see a live-action Spider-Man since, what was that show in the 70s?
Amazing Spider-Man starring Nicholas Hammond.
I mean, like where he's like crawling around on the ground and throwing rope nets at people. Like,
oh yeah,
this was, oh my God, leaps and bounds so much further beyond as far as how it looked.
Oh, I don't.
I accepted.
Deny that.
Yeah, I just accepted a lot of the faults in those movies at the time because I was so excited to get an actual, really cool looking Spider-Man on screen.
It's just when you go back and watch a lot of it. It's, Spider-Man 2, for example. I know that's everybody's favorite Spider-Man movie. There is one scene in that movie that I love, and it's because I'm a Sam Raimi fan going back to Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, and it's the scene when the surgeons are working on Dr. Octopus, and then you get the tentacles in the shadows holding up the chainsaw and all that, and it's just so Evil Dead 2 that it's wonderful. And Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is great until I get he's really a good guy after all, and we should redeem him and let him die a hero. No! Dr. Octopus is a scumbag. He's a creep. He's awful to the nth degree, and I don't want to root for him and let him have a hero's ending. And just blarg. Blarg. We won't tell Spider-Man, we won't tell anybody's secret identity. Screw you. As someone who grew up, born and raised in New York City, you're going to tell me there's all that money on Peter's head from the Daily Bugle, and no, we won't tell. Rent is insane. The MTA is insane. Food is expensive. No. Sam Raimi. No. And then we won't even get into Spider-Man 3 because that's just kicking a franchise when it's down. But the stuff that he had attempted to do early on, I was hyped for. I was 19 when those movies were coming out, and I was ready to finally have a live-action Spider-Man. But as time went on, they just got worse for me.
They did, yeah, and especially when they brought in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and you finally get his sense of humor back, which it put this huge spotlight on the old movies as something I already knew was missing from them because I had talked about that.
Glaring.
Yeah, it was crazy because it was like all of a sudden like, oh my God, Spider-Man is funny again, like he's supposed to be.
But I also want that funny to be a defense mechanism, and
it certainly was.
There certainly was quite a bit of that. But there is an honesty and a tangibility within 5 minutes of a scene between Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War in Peter's bedroom that I never got from the other 5 movies. You didn't have to get beat over the head with power and responsibility. There's that moment where Tony says to Peter, so you're looking out for the little guy, and Peter half lies to him. He says, yeah, that's exactly why. When you know it's the guilt that is going to hang over him forever. And I don't need you to tell me about that. I know that better than I know my family tree, and I know it better than I know Long Division, which probably would have gotten me further in life than comics. But it's perfectly done. Tangibility is key, and they've managed to do that.
So I'm going to end that part on a high note there with that and skip back over to DC, but we're going to go animated now.
We're going to go. Well, I got to say, it sounds like we're going to go from one of my favorite Marvel characters to my favorite DC character is the sound of it. And no, not Batman.
Uh-oh. Well, unfortunately, his name was not in the title that I saw.
That's the problem with the title.
Yeah, the Batman and Harley Quinn team up, the animated film that's coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be rad. I mean, it's in a nice mishmash of the season 4 and seasons 1 through 3 of Batman the Animated Series. They've kind of found a way to bring them together, and it looks like this movie is almost going to be in kind of tribute to the episode of Batman the Animated Series, Harlequinade, where Batman and Robin have to team up with Harley Quinn to stop the Joker from detonating a bomb on Gotham. This one, it's now Batman and Nightwing. Dick has grown up, obviously, team up with Harley Quinn yet again to stop Poison Ivy from doing some nonsense to Gotham. Are you really? How old are you?
I was trying to hold it in. I'm sorry, man.
No, we're going to have to pull that back because...
Oh, shit.
Wow.
It was just too good a pun. So, continuing on.
I don't know where we were.
The last thing I heard was Dick has grown up. You have to appreciate the humor of it, though.
Heard it too many times growing up.
Well,
heard it way too many times growing up.
To get back on track, That's actually, see, that's one of the things that I love about you, is you're the walking encyclopedia when it comes to these things, because I had completely forgotten about that specific episode in the animated series. And you reminded me that, and I was like, oh yeah, there was that one where, they teamed up. Because to me, it was like, wait a minute, Batman and Harley Quinn, they're doing a team up. It sounds to me like this is, in some ways, a lot of a money grab. Like,
it absolutely is a money grab.
Let's bank on the popularity of Harley Quinn right now, and we'll team her up with Batman, who's very popular, and we'll just make a movie out of it.
No, this is absolutely a money grab, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. I will say this. I can't remember the last time I liked a DC animated movie. I genuinely can't. Probably Justice League Crisis on Two Earths might have been the last one that I liked, because everything else since then has been either Flashpoint nonsense or New 52 nonsense or Damian Wayne nonsense and stuff that I just don't care about, to the point where the Judas Contract from the Teen Titans, which is probably my all-time favorite story arc in comics, finally gets an animated movie, and I'm totally out because it's New 52 Nightwing and Damian and all these characters that weren't in the comic that I don't care about, and I don't want to watch that, which is too bad because Miguel Ferrer is the voice of Deathstroke in that. And A, I love Deathstroke, but B, Miguel Ferrer, as you guys know, actor, Twin Peaks, bunch of other stuff, RoboCop, was a huge comic book fan and often took on comic parts because of his love of comics. He and Bill Mumy from Lost in Space and Bill Sienkiewicz, one of the most famous artists in comics, did their own comic in the mid to late 80s for Marvel. I think it was called The Comet Man. So, I mean, like, a guy like him getting to do something like this clearly was really big, and it was sad that it was his last role, but I would have loved to have watched it, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But I'm happy to see that we're getting a Nightwing that looks like Nightwing. It's in the animated series costume, which is great. There's no mullet, which is even cooler. I'm always down to get rid of that nonsense. But it's also really cool to see Kevin Conroy and Lauren Lester return to their roles as Bruce and Dick again. And the best part about it is that they sound exactly the same. I mean, it's really just pitch perfect.
Well, and now I'll switch again based on nostalgia. Netflix releasing their Castlevania trailer.
Woo-hoo!
Dude. And the funny thing is, when I first watched the trailer, and you get, the guy putting the cartridge in the Famicom system, and then you get the monochrome pictures coming up, and I see Kevin Spacey, I had to go back and look again. I'm like, wait, is Kevin Spacey in this? I mean, can you imagine Kevin Spacey as the voice of Dracula?
I'd be all right with that.
Yo, hell yeah.
I'd be okay with him doing anything. It's going to be really cool, especially because from the looks of it, this is based on Castlevania 3, which is awesome. Castlevania 3 is a killer game if you guys remember. If you haven't played it, I'm sure it's downloadable somewhere and you can play that. But Trevor Belmont, who is the ancestor of Simon Belmont from the original game, is the protagonist in Castlevania 3. So it's going to be cool to see him in the series. Plus, for nerds like me, the series is being written by Warren Ellis. Warren Ellis has written so many comics that I love. Planetary, Fell. He had an amazing run on Excalibur in the mid to late 90s. There's almost nothing that Warren Ellis has done that I haven't loved. Thunderbolts with Norman Osborn, which was just, out of control good. But this isn't his first time scripting for animation. He did this really amazing G.I. Joe cartoon for Adult Swim a couple years ago called Resolute, and I still think it might be one of the best G.I. Joe adaptations of all time. So having Warren Ellis involved in this is just, it's a slam dunk. This is going to be super cool.
The animation style, art style and whatnot, look pretty badass too.
Yeah, that's going to be killer.
Well, in talking about Netflix, now there's news out that Rosario Dawson, who played the night nurse,
Claire Temple. I refuse to call her night nurse, by the way. I'm sorry.
Well, she's I don't want to say jumping ship, but at least with regards of taking a new job, she's going to join the New Mutants show.
Yeah, the movie, rather.
Or movie, sorry.
New Mutants is getting a movie. First, let me at least say, I refuse to call her night nurse, not because I dislike the character. I love Claire Temple. I love Rosario Dawson and everything that she's done. No one has ever established her as the night nurse. Claire Temple in the comics is a totally different character from the night nurse. The night nurse, going back to WonderWoman there, her real name was Linda Carter. So it's two different characters. I get what people are going for. It just feels a little too fan chosen. So I don't know if I've really jived with it yet, but getting away from my own personal nerdiness there, I'm kind of down with this. They're saying that she's going to play Cecilia Reyes. And if you guys were reading X-Men comics maybe around the late 90s, you'll remember her. She was one of the 3 new X-Men to join the team. It was her, Maggot, and Marrow. And she was a character who didn't want anybody to know that she was a mutant. She was perfectly happy in her life as a doctor. I think she was a surgeon, if I'm not mistaken. And she was able to hide her powers mostly relatively easy. But then, getting involved with the X-Men, and she and Iceman, they weren't in a relationship, but there was a friendship there, and that just kind of escalated her life and all that. She was an interesting enough character, but I don't know how much was done with her. For a while after that. They brought her back, I think, once or twice, but not terribly much. But I don't know, it feels like they're just trying to throw her in, and she really had nothing to do with the New Mutants, especially this specific team. But I love Rosario Dawson, so I'm totally down to see her do anything. And again, another celebrity who's a really, really, really big comic book fan. I love seeing her take on comic-related projects, whether it's the Netflix stuff, whether it's Batgirl in the Lego Batman movie. As much as like I said, I didn't really care for some of the DC animated stuff. She was Wonder Woman recently in one of the animated DC films. So I love seeing her. Not everyone will say, oh, she embraces it. No, she puts it out there. I love that she puts her fandom out to the world with this stuff. And even if it's a project that I'm not necessarily into, it's always so cool to see someone in her position really try to share her love of comics and superhero comics.
And for anyone who may complain that you can't play a character in one universe and shift to another, not that that hasn't happened, but think of it this way. Claire Temple finishes up night school, gets her doctorate, and during that time, somehow something happens, and where she acquires powers, enters WITSEC, goes and gets a new name, and now she's in the movie.
I hate you so much. Oh God, no! I think I want New Mutants to be good because the movie, they're aiming it towards they're trying to shoot it as a horror movie. They're looking to use a bunch of the stuff from the Chris Claremont, Bill Sienkiewicz run, which I think started around issue 18 and ends in like 35, 36. I could be wrong. I could be off by the number there towards the end, but it's the best stuff that anyone did on New Mutants. It's some of Claremont's strongest work outside of the X-Men, and that's the stuff with like the Demon Bear and Danny Moonstone and all that. And it's the right team. It's Cannonball, it's Sunspot, it's Magma, it's Magic. It's that really cool classic New Mutants team. But they said they want to treat it as a horror movie, which certainly works. I'm also a little put off with the no costumes thing, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it all turns out and what it looks like. All right, well, we started on a serious note. Let's end on a fun note.
Oh, that's right. We've got, looks like there is a brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pizza cookbook out there.
What?
No, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be super cool. I love pizza. I love pizza in any and of all kinds. And for someone like me who feels like he's eaten every pizza, there are 65 different kinds of pizza that you can make in this cookbook. For someone like me who constantly has to defend it from other people who don't realize they're wrong, there is the Sewer Surfer pizza, for example, which is pineapple and ham. And for those of you who don't like pineapple on your pizza, you're wrong. And it's okay that you're wrong, but you're wrong. Because pineapple on pizza is amazing.
Well, we mentioned Kevin Spacey earlier in the episode, so let me see if I can channel Kevin Spacey a little bit here. Tell me how pineapple pizza goes on pizza.
If you use that Lex Luthor quote, I'm gonna kick you. Pineapple pizza.
Wrong!
Awful movie, and you're using an awful movie on me. I hate you. No, yeah, it's delicious, and I love it, but it's awesome now because Michelangelo was on that page, and Michelangelo's the best turtle anyway. So
wrong again.
Never.
Raph is the best turtle there is. Everybody likes Mike just because he's a goofball.
He's the best.
No, Raph is the best.
Why is Raph the best?
Why isn't Raph the best?
Because his name is not Michelangelo.
All right, guys, and on that note, we're going to wrap it up for the week. We hope you enjoyed yourself and had some fun, and excuse me for losing myself in the jokes and innuendos.
Wow. What are we, 12?
It depends on the day.
That's fair. I guess to channel one of my favorite actors, it looks like we're going to be walking out of here.
All right, guys. This is Drac. I'm out.
Deuces. TJ. Good night.